Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Green Factor, a show where we talk about green design and the business of sustainability. I'm your host, Haris the Green Carpenter, and today we're going to be talking about Malaysia's green SME as case studies. With me today, we have Prof. Avvari Mohan, also known as Prof. Mohan, right now with Monash University. He used to be in Nottingham, which is my university. So now he moved to to Monash. But nonetheless, welcome, Prof. Thank you very much for your time. So how are you?
Keeping well. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Harit, for having me. Keeping well, and you rightly said I moved to Monash, but the message I've given both to my Monash colleagues and Nottingham is that we work collaboratively, and in the last 3 months, we've actually started off collaborations. So uh, part of me is
Awesome,
still there and will be there.
awesome.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about case study because you do a lot of research in the sustainability space. So today on this episode, we want to explore more of this. So before we go into the topic, can you share a little bit about yourself, your journey, and
Yeah.
how we've come to this part before we continue with the topic?
With pleasure, Harit. So, as with most of the academics and even the industry people, none of us started as sustainability people, right? We all started in some other space. So, in my case, also, my area of interest is innovation and innovation systems. So, we look at how companies are part of a bigger ecosystem, what are the supporting actors in their innovation. And very naturally, that led into looking at innovations for sustainability. And at my previous university, I was in charge of the module called Sustainable Decisions and Organizations. So that helped also. And as I wanted to look for localized cases, Asian cases, Malaysian cases, and that's how the journey started into the sustainability side of things. And I've always been interested in small enterprises because they're the ones who employ most people and have lesser resources to do things, and yet how they have been wonderful in the sustainability agenda. That's how I came to this, Harit.
Interesting. But then let's go further back.
Yeah,
You're not from Malaysia,
no,
so how do you come to this part of the world?
right. I was running away from an arranged marriage, Harit. And
That's the first time I heard.
that's the first time you heard, right? And here's the nice thing, I actually got married in an arranged way. So, running away from an arranged marriage, I joined Multimedia University. It was called University Telecom at that time. As I told you, innovation systems was the interest. And there was some people from the government who had come to the place where I was working in India, and they told me about Cyberjaya. And part of the innovation systems is to study what are known as technology clusters, firms coming together into one area. And Cyberjaya is not an existing place like Silicon Valley or Bangalore or Singapore. It's actually people moving in physically, the companies. So they told, and my boss at that time also told me about a book called East Asian Miracle. And he said, it's an interesting job. You'll be part of a live growth. And that's how I came. The arranged marriage bit is true, but that's not the most important bit. Allow me a minute about that, Harit, because it's important for sustainability. So what happened was, in the Silicon Valleys of the world, companies sort of organically connect with each other. It's like what we call in India love marriage. People meet and right. So my second PhD supervision uh, with a colleague in MMU was exactly on this. You are putting companies into a location, they don't know each other, there's no time to know each other, and how do you get them to work together became interesting. So we at that time during the Mahathir era, there were these things called flagship applications. So companies were sort of brought together to work as consortia, and we studied them. What structures made them work well? Some failed, some succeeded. So sort of my real life and my research life started becoming parallel.
That
I
is
did get
which
married
year?
in the
Which year is that?
year 2000. So I've been here
2000.
22 years, coming from India. And another interesting thing, Cyberjaya concept was copied by my hometown called Hyderabad, and they set up Cyberabad. There were many similar policies, so it was even more interesting to see both sides
Nice.
evolving as tech clusters.
Yes,
And
yes,
my
yes.
marriage has also been one of the best marriages ever, arranged
That's
marriage.
good to know. So yeah, I think we so it evolved into
It evolved.
sustainability, and then I think of
Right,
course a lot of there's a lot of push towards that, especially
right,
overseas, and now Malaysia we have becoming more and more concerned. So,
yeah,
can you share a little bit about your finding or research in terms of
sure.
sustainability, especially in the Malaysian SME context?
So interestingly, while I was at MMU, this was not the agenda. It's when I moved to University of Nottingham and I had to teach these modules, I started looking for companies. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't excited about the Patagonias or the body shops and so on. This is something everybody can go online and look. And the very first company that I came across in the space was John Hardy, which is actually a Bali-based jewelry manufacturer. And it was fascinating to see how a jewelry company was thinking about the environment, was thinking about the people in Bali, and to the extent that they didn't even want to disturb the local culture and not make a corporate culture, how they could run a business organization without shaking the culture of the people, without disturbing anything in the environment. And that's how I started writing the case studies. And that was the most fascinating case for me to see how a Malaysian architect was invited to design the whole workshops and the showroom in Bali with zero air conditioning, minimal maintenance, and so on. And that led to my digging up for more companies in Malaysia. I'm sure you know these also. Tanah Merah, a very interesting local company, not just about sustainability, but even very specifically on packaging and the challenges they faced. Because if they want to be sustainable and use those kind of packaging, will market accept it or not? And then the entry into their international markets. In the service space, Frangipani hotels. And as we went on, we discovered more and more, and there are some new enterprises also now. Among them include the TLC organization in the hygiene space. In the larger company space, Vinda. By the way, I'm not paid to advertise them, but we just observe them from what they're doing in terms of sustainability, the challenges they face, and yet how they come through very interestingly. And each one gives an example for something different. And more recently, a social enterprise that has emerged into a business enterprise. Burley Gas is the organization, and they have now become EDAR. Fascinating ways in which they do if you want to use the word ESGs, right? Environmental and social agendas embedded. Elephant in the room, Harit, is your own company. As you know, I have even brought the team of MBAs to visit you, and your company is also one of the cases we use, uh, both in Nottingham and now in Monash soon.
Thank you very much for that, Prof. I think let's try to look deeper because right
Yeah,
now I think when right nowadays because everyone talks about sustainability,
yeah,
but before this, there are actually a lot of people doing sustainability, especially here in Malaysia. It's just that we don't
yeah,
know them. So the
absolutely.
like you say, there are few of the companies. Um, let's try to go into slightly deeper, especially
Yeah,
in terms of how they operate, because each
yeah,
companies operate in different industry and all that. So how
yeah,
do they approach? So can you share a little bit more on that?
absolutely. At this point, I don't want to name names of the companies, but let's start with what you said,
Yep.
right? Exactly how
Mm,
you approach.
mm,
So some of them start as a purely sustainability organization from day one. And obviously, they have it easier because they can blueprint the whole sustainability agenda, their sourcing of products, their production, their distribution, and so on. But not all have that luxury, right? Some of them have to transition from what they used to be to being a sustainability company. And that's where the case studies were interesting. So, for example, Winda, I like the way they said everything starts with the product. So they start their whole sustainability journey looking at their product, how clean and green it can be. So clearly here, there's not much of a social agenda, but the focus is on a product that is very relevant to the local market. It won't leave behind a lot of waste, yet it's safe because they're in hygiene products. And from there, they go backwards into the supply chain all the way and see that everything is properly aligned. So that's one interesting model I found. There are others who take it from a pure social point of view and not just the environment point of view. There is a small social enterprise called Primus Wellness. And I like the way the entrepreneur thinks. Her concern was the B40 segment of Malaysia, Malay Chinese or Indian or others, are all consuming bad, unhealthy food at very low because they can only afford low prices. So she's looking at again at a product which can be very local. So she's looking at Malaysian grown, Malaysian traditional vegetables, and how does she support the women farmers who can produce this, and then produce products out of it that the B40 can segment. That's the other way, right? And then, of course, are the green businesses who are looking purely from an environment point of view, and this is where I find it fascinating. We spoke to, we meaning Faroz, a mutual friend of ours, who runs the UN Global Compact Malaysia and Brunei. So we were speaking to a very large company, the world's largest, I shall not name the product, world's largest XXX manufacturer. It's called Carex. And that was very fascinating. He said, look, environmental issues are not to debate. You just should not pollute. It's a matter of investment. But it was fascinating to hear his story on diversity, why that company should look at diversity, different elements of diversity, what they bring to the table, and why it's important from an international market perspective. Both internally, the benefits he gets in terms of creativity, ideas. I said to you, it's an XXX product, and there are multiple challenges he has to face. And he says it's diversity what makes the difference. So, from a large company to a small company, there seems to be different ways in which companies transition to green businesses or sustainability businesses. A last statement. So, based on what the Carex gentleman told us, the CEO, that seems to be coming up even in roundtables, right? What are the social issues that need to be addressed? Foreign workers, it's a challenge, right? And the pandemic has opened it up even more. Many have to go back to their country. You can't get them back again on the visas. The complaints about Malaysians won't take up certain jobs, but I don't think that's the case. It's very interesting how these small and medium enterprises train and keep local talent. I'm a foreigner myself, yeah, and I understand what they're saying. The country is kind enough to keep us all employed, but I think it's important to also take care of first the Malaysian citizen. So whether it's Edar, which was formerly Burley Gas, or another favorite company of mine is Hexa Foods, how a small and medium enterprise uses training to benefit the local employees. So there's a social agenda that's very beautiful, and how they help them to earn extra money while being more productive for the company also. So several dimensions a company can look at, and it doesn't have to be the 100% circular economy only. So these were some of the findings from the cases, Harith, and happy to see how we can move forward in the conversation.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, like I've been in the green space more around 10 years already. So when I started, there's also a lot of other green businesses at that time. So there's a lot of like bulbs company. There's a lot, and a lot of them does not sustain. So a lot of them say that Malaysia people in Malaysia don't buy green products and all that. This is like a long time ago.
Harith,
Um,
sorry, I lost you. Can you repeat, please?
okay, so basically, there's a lot of green businesses that have been in and out business this past few years. I know a lot of them, and they say that Malaysia there's no market for green products. People are not gonna buy green products. So also there's a lot of other social enterprise popping up and all that. So of course it's a good thing, but based on your findings, like what makes these companies that you mentioned successful in their own way? Because they are not the first and they are not the only, but what separates them? Hello. Prof, can you hear me? Sorry, guys, we have some. Uh,
No, Harit, I'm sorry. I lost you.
okay, wait. So
Um,
um,
I heard about this that you're interested in hearing what makes them successful. Am I correct?
yes. So guys, so this is one of the challenge of having a live show. There's a lot of things that can happen, but do bear with us. While we wait for Prof Mohan to come back, I think I want to just share a little bit, touch on a little of what he mentioned before, which states that not a lot of young people wants to come into the industry. So, Prof, can you hear me? Can you hear?
Yeah.
Not.
I
Test,
can
test.
hear you, but it's still flickering. I don't know why. Sorry about
No,
this, Harit.
it's okay. Can you read the question? Hello. So it's okay. We'll try again. So while we wait, like I say, um, Prof. Mohan said like not a lot of youth want to join the business or the industry that is considered 3D. Prof, can you hear? Test? Test?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it's flickering. Okay, now it's better. Now it's better.
Is it? Can you
Yeah,
hear me
sorry
now?
about that. I can hear you
It's
now.
okay. Okay. So back to the question.
Yeah,
I think before we continue, I was just saying while we were offline on the point that you're saying not a lot of local want to work in certain industry, but just let me share with you my experience because when we the timber industry especially Malaysian timber industry is one of the largest in the world. Malaysia
yeah,
export to more than 160 countries, but a lot of the workers in the industry comes from foreign. A lot of them are foreigner, so very little amount of local people wants to work in the industry. So when we moved to the new factory in Ampang, we decided okay we want to focus on local talents. So we did few things, and just to share with you right now, out of 46 staff, 90%, almost 90% are local, and around 80% are below 35. So we have a lot of youth working with us, and
okay,
80% of our workforce have diploma and above. So it's an educated workforce, and they are doing woodworking and all that. So they do want to work in the industry if it's attractive enough to them, and
correct.
I think for them as well there's a purpose, there's a sense of doing something new and exciting. So there's a lot
Yes,
of things that we
yeah,
can do in terms of attracting local talents. So yeah, so that's just a little bit before we were cut off. So the question was, Prof, is there's a lot of green companies that pop up, there's a lot of social enterprise that is popping up as well. So there's a lot of them that closed down as well. Being
yeah,
almost a decade in the industry, I saw a lot of them not here anymore. So what make the company that you mentioned before successful? It's not about the cause, but what makes it
yeah,
them successful?
correct. Even though it's not about cost, Harit, as a businessman, you know how you view things, right? If you view it as a cost, it becomes a short run thinking. And I'm noticing that companies that view it as an investment and manage their short run or the low hanging fruits and keep it successful somehow. But whereas have a long-term agenda, even a small and medium enterprise. And these are the ones that we are seeing that make it successful. So you can't say I
It's
won't
not
make
about
money for
cost.
3 years.
It's not cost. It's cause.
Cost, yeah,
CAUSE. So when we talk to
cause.
social
Okay,
enterprise
okay,
and NGO, I
yeah,
always tell them people are not
yeah,
people might buy it once if they believe in it,
yeah.
but if they want to buy again and again, your cost shouldn't be the only one that attracts them.
Absolutely,
So yeah,
absolutely,
so
yeah.
what makes this other company that uses sustainability and uses all
Successful.
these costs successfully?
Correct. Correct. Uh, so very well said. I'm going to use it in my class now. It's not about the cost, but it's about the cause. But also that's just not enough, right? Then it's like an NGO. So unfortunately, I think markets and finances and people, as you rightly put, are very critical. And of course, the other one is technology. You can't run away from it anymore. How effectively digital technologies can be used. I don't want to touch on that, but I think I like the point you made. How do you make your company exciting and also uh, rewarding for the new generation to come and join? So it's very nice to hear that a woodworking industry is something exciting for the younger generation. And in the other case studies in the agrotech space, I'm hearing the same thing. Boom Grow, for example, which is now part of Naranti. And she talks about it the same way. There is a cause, food security, non polluting, and healthy foods. And immediately people are excited to join you in the journey. And the other thing, of course, is always, it's not always that the market needs it. Sometimes you even teach the market if you're a new product or a new technology. So, just the way you made it attractive for young women and young men to come and join the woodworking, you would also make it attractive for the consumers to buy your product. And again, you don't need to spend millions of dollars on advertising, right? You have cheaper ways of marketing, the ways of using digital platforms to promote your products. And we see that as a way of those companies that have survived the pandemic and are also successful in the long run. And all these companies that I've talked about actually went through the pandemic. Well, not successfully, all of them, with challenges, but they have survived. Taking care of the people, ensuring that the youth are interested in working for them and consuming their products. And looks like the old people will follow once the youth go there also. Uh, Again, all the companies that I talked about seem to be doing that investments in people, investments in products, and teaching the market the value of sustainability. There was an interesting point my daughter brought up. She wanted to buy some products, and her complaint was, "Why are sustainability products so expensive?" I don't believe that, right? I don't think you should use the word expensive because there are what are known as hidden costs of buying the quote unquote cheap products or cheap non sustainable products. We told her about it. I will fund it if she justifies that it's a non polluting or it's a product that supports a cause, because in a macro sense, that's a much better product. So these are the factors I think that make it successful. Any sustainable enterprise, any enterprise for that matter.
I think just to share with you like how sustainability works for us. When I changed the direction of the company 2012, it was
Yeah,
purely about the environment. Because first one,
yeah,
I grew up in industry. I saw there's so much waste being created, and we don't really care where our timber comes from. And after
yeah,
working officially for a few years after Nottingham, I saw about the industry, it's large and all that. And at the same time, in 2012, I saw a alarming statistic. At that time, our deforestation rate here in Malaysia is one of the highest in the world. So, being in the wood
mm,
industry, my business relates directly with the forest. So, I don't want to have that in my conscience. So that's why I started to change the business. And I started off as wanting to save the environment, but after a few years of doing it, we found that there's a lot of benefit of having sustainability in the heart of the business. So we
right,
create a new revenue stream, we
yeah,
reduce our costs, we increase our margin, and we attract bright talents. So with this,
correct,
it's not about the environment at all. It's about business. So suddenly, sustainability become a
Okay.
competitive advantage of the company. So that's why, like, I decided, okay, I need to pick up activism to share with people on how we can do it, at least for businesses, because I focus more on the business or corporate structure
Correct.
to transform to sustainability. So yeah, I think the way we look at it, rather than seeing it as a cost, because normally when businesses we want to talk about sustainable manufacturing, they always think, oh, I have to install solar panels, I have to buy expensive machines and all that.
Okay.
But actually, there's a lot of ways to actually make green products accessible as well. I think that one we can go
Correct.
on another topic. But I think right now, aside from your what your input was, it's more of how you see it and how you put the business around the cause and make it work. But
Correct.
when you talk to these companies or companies that want to transition, what would be the issues for this company to in terms of adopting a holistic way of operation?
Correct. I think what you said now is the best way to transition to this question also. Adapting sustainability for business as a strategy, but not as an operational issue only. What is the meaning of that? You don't look at it only as your production system, or you don't look at it only from a procurement point of view. It must be much broader, right? Just as you rightly put, the moment you thought of the environment as the heart of your business, I'll repeat again, there was a new revenue line, you could reduce costs, you also attracted talent, and you also attracted a new market. Everything got covered. So, and hence, whether you want to call it a business model or a strategy, the direction the company takes is most critical in adapting sustainability. To put the same sentence in another way, I think most companies, especially SMEs, are getting frightened when they hear the word ESG investing or SDGs and so on. I think that should not be the focus. The ESGs are merely the ways in which you disclose what you're doing to the financial community, correct? You want to tell your banker what is the environmental benefits your products can have, or what are the social agendas you're able to address, and how's your governance. That focus, I think, is getting people worried and not being able to adapt sustainability into their companies very well. But the moment you think of it as a strategy, and how do we define strategy? Something about reconfiguring your resources in order to gain a competitive advantage. And what is a competitive advantage? How different are you in terms of your products that the customers seem to value, in simple words? So, one word in issues for adapting sustainability, it can't be a cookie cutter. What's the right one for you? Your business model will be slightly different from another timber company's business model. And that's where their direction setting should come. Some may want to be more focused on the social agendas. The environmental bit is more or less straightforward, right? You have to have good procurement sources. You should not be polluting or wasting. You have to find a way to use back your waste. So wood company will be different from a chemicals company, will be different from a services company. But the frame of the strategy, as you rightly put, the strategy should be at the heart of the company. Sustainability should be heart of the strategy. That all still sounds vague, right? And that's where I come back to what I said. Are we focusing on our products? What if we are a services company, right? We don't really waste anything. So what are we focusing on? Then is it about the people and about not using much electricity and so on? The standards and the ESG frameworks can guide you on how you want to tell the stakeholders, whether it's your stock exchange or your investors or your bankers, to ensure that they're investing and putting money in a good business. If that makes sense, I think we can look at other things of adapting sustainability. People aspect, that's the operational level. Why am I employing 100 people instead of a machine? Some of these questions are being asked. Everybody is now talking about IR4. Should you automate for the sake of automation? If you can employ 100 people and it costs less than an automation machine, why not? This was one of the points made by some of the people also. So let me summarize again. Number one, adapting sustainability requires a strategy. What is the strategy? As you rightly put, uh, what is sustainability for my company? So even the university is asking this question: what does sustainability mean for Monash, for Nottingham? Is it in what we teach? Is it how the infrastructure is? Is it in the kind of research we do? And it should not be the same everywhere, right? Otherwise, we're just repeating things. That's the competitive advantage element. So, what are your competencies? And previously, competencies were focused purely on non sustainability issues. Now, you can say, right, you have a model of how you can. I love the way there was a process innovation model you had where people can work from home, even in a woodworking industry. So, what's the process innovation? What's the product innovation? And what's the business model embedding sustainability into the businesses?
Hmm. Yeah, I think we also need to like shift the talk about sustainability to just about saving the environment to
Yes,
actually like the word sustainability, it means that good for long run. It doesn't really talk about trees or anything. It's
one
good
issue.
for the long run.
Correct.
So that's
Correct.
why right now in Malaysia or in the world we are moving towards other topics of sustainability as well. Like right
Correct.
now, we talk about mental health and sustainability. We talk
Yes.
about culture preservation as part of sustainability. So there are
Correct.
other issues and ways we can look at sustainability. So we need to start to broaden a little bit our view on things and try
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
adapt. And I think from just to share from my side, the way I do sustainability is more a journey rather than
Mm.
I need to do everything now. So
Correct.
it's gonna take a long time. But
Yeah.
what the framework that we use is we try to look at all the process that is involved. So we don't just look
Yeah.
at the material, we look at the glue that we use, the coating that we use, the packaging,
Correct.
the people that make, and also our stakeholders, the community, the government, and media. And
Yeah.
for the process, we try to make each process greener. And for the
Yes.
stakeholders, all the stakeholders, we try to get them more buying in into the sustainability agenda. So I think we need to see it as a step by step kind of approach rather than doing everything. Because if we see everything, then you see the cost. There's the money, right? So like,
Very
oh,
true.
there's so much money I have to invest. But if it's like a journey, like for us,
Yeah.
um, we start with something a little bit, and then when it's time for us to buy new machines, for example, then okay, this is time to
Yeah.
like we want to buy a new lorry. So which one
Correct.
is the most eco-friendly or efficient and all that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it progresses with your business as well. So I think
Mm.
it makes more sense to see that way than rather than okay, we need to go green, so we need to buy this machine
Flip
now, we need to
everything.
do
Yeah.
everything now. So then like most business will be afraid of it, right? Because there's a lot of uncertainty.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think by seeing it in a broader sense and approaching it in a step by step will help for business.
Correct.
um, but this also would come to our last question, which is what are the opportunity in this space? Like, how do you think like businesses can take this sustainability trend as part
Mm.
of their business growth?
So let's start with your last statement. First of all, I think it should not be a trend, right? And in fact, we use the term responsible business. In one of the questions, a researcher in credit risk asked us, "Why did you think this whole industry across the globe was not sustainable?" So different people gave different answers, and one of the reasons apparently is that the corporate credit in the world has is more than double that of individual credit. And I'm talking about 15 years ago when I just joined Nottingham University. So there was too much money in the Western world's companies' hands, and too much of overcapacity building, etc. So the opportunities now seem to be in a multifold way. First of all, uh, not to see sustainability, as you rightly said, as something to do immediately. All companies have to see this opportunity as a transition. If you remember the quality revolution of the earlier 2, 3 decades ago, all companies had to do an ISO. Otherwise, you don't know whether you're a good quality company. But that should still not be the way, I think. So this question is apt. One is compliance to all these new standards, but still the opportunity is one market. Uh, More and more youth are reading labels, checking things to see whether they're consuming what is healthy for themselves, and if the company is producing it in a healthy way. As you said, mental health of the employees. I'm just coming from a forum with the CEO and the pro vice chancellor of the university, and these were the questions that were coming up: mental health of people. So opportunities in terms of designing an enterprise where youth are willing to work. There are opportunities for business models of even reducing cost by having dispersed work, right? Do I really need this big room? We're asking ourselves now. Because there is going to be digitization, campus facilities, even a university is thinking about it. A university still has to be a community. An organization also has to be a community. If you're employing 50 people, I don't think they all want to work from home all the time. So the opportunities of how you design spaces are there for people to come and feel excited to work for your organization. But I think the market is going to be the biggest opportunity. And on the other side, all the institutions, investors, the stock exchanges are all looking for good companies to invest in or responsible companies to invest in. It's been a bit slow in the last 2, 3 years because of the pandemic, but I think it's going to pick up again. So the investor side, that's the input of your company. The output side, which is the market side, both are where opportunities are. And as you rightly put, for SMEs, the biggest challenge is in attracting the young crowd. You don't offer a KLCC steel and glass office, right? And that seemed to be the attraction to work among the youth. But I think the new generation is not looking for that. They're looking for excitement to contribute. And that's where I think SMEs have great opportunities to attract. I don't know whether I should reveal the name of the company, but like you, this company's founder has become a friend. And I find it okay, I'm going to put it this way. It's a Chinaman company located in Klang and Shalom, and no youth wants to go there. But he calls it a startup and gives opportunities for interns to head divisions or projects. And immediately there are university students clamoring to work for him. So there seems to be that word sustainability or responsible business is giving multiple opportunities. Now let's look at these companies like TLC or Boomgrow or yourself. I think with a little bit of teaching consumers, one visit to your company and we have 30 fans of your company. Our gifts are now Green Factory gifts. Yeah, to the audience, yes, this is an objective statement, not a biased statement. One case study of a company has made it attractive to the 30 participants to be surprised that there is a Malaysian company doing these kind of things. Last opportunity. The pandemic also has revealed that depending on supplies outside Malaysia for cheaper sources is very dangerous, whichever product you're looking for. And obviously, there's a carbon footprint, right, Harit? If you're going to get something from Brazil, if you have salmon flown in from Japan to eat, I don't see the sense at all. It's such a bad thing. And you should not be eating products in other places from a health point of view in this place. So I think that's another opportunity to start talking about and educating the market about local products. Of course, not everything. A microchip still may come from Taiwan or Japan or Korea, it doesn't matter. But food products, furniture products, things that the country makes very well, I think these are all opportunities: procurement side, investment side, and market side. And it's almost like a common sense thing that people have forgotten. And that one word sustainability or the two words responsible business, I think, offer endless opportunities in Malaysia.
Awesome, awesome. I think that's a good end to our session. So thank you, Prof, for giving us your time and sharing your story. If you guys want
Harit, I wanted
to,
Yeah.
you want to
I wanted to
add
say
last?
just one more point, right?
Sure, sure,
It
sure.
doesn't fit
Last word.
into our discussion, but I have found out that in Malaysia there are fantastic non-government organizations. I think SMEs should work with them also to learn. Um, Rimba is one of them. Tropical Rainforest Research Center. Then there is also Wild Asia in different spaces. If you work with them, they are happy to teach all the knowledge they have. Of course, universities, but even the non-government organizations. Over to you. Sorry, sorry.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah. So like Prof said, it's not about working in silos. We need to work with other people. We need to work with government. We need to work with communities, with NGOs and all that. Because what we are chasing is not the profit. We're chasing the impact. So
Yeah,
nowadays it's all about collaboration rather than
yeah,
competition. So do collaborate more, do work together with more, because one company can't make a change, but a lot of us can. So do connect with Prof Mohan on LinkedIn, Mohan Avvari, and he's going to be really helpful. So if you reach out to him, he will help you. So thank you, Prof, for your
Thank
time,
you,
and
Harith.
thank you, you
Thank you very
guys,
much.
for viewing in. If you like this episode, please share it. To continue learning, subscribe to our YouTube page, The Green Factor, for content and updates. Follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok at Haris Green Carpenter. See you next week, and as always, have a green week ahead. Bye bye, guys.